Hi, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are joining us from in the world today. We are so happy to have you here with us for another fabulous Power to Fly Chat and Learn event. My name is Meg Alexander. I'm going to be your host today and super excited to dig in. So let's dive. So one thing that y'all should know is that our virtual events are entirely about you. They are about our community members, making sure that the time that you spend with Power to Fly is well worth it, as well as bringing you the answers or the information or the content that you come to expect from us. So to that end, you are more than welcome and highly encouraged to participate. You can do that in a couple different ways, just to kind of, make the most of this virtual experience. So if you'd like, feel free to turn your cameras on. We are always happy to share people's smiling, maskless faces safely. As our guest and I were just speaking about, I think I see maybe 3 faces on the regular, and 2 of them are my dogs. So, if you want to step up to the camera, completely great. Thank you so much for doing so. There is no need to be Instagram perfect. If you are in a non-traditional workspace, I don't care if you're coming to us from your couch, your broom closet, your bed, doesn't matter. We are happy to meet you where you are. Bring your messy buns, your child supervisors, your furry coworkers, everything you got going on, please feel free. Now, if you do want to turn your cameras on, awesome. Just understand if you have any kind of privacy concerns, you will not show up on the live stream or the recording of today's session as long as you don't come off mute. So if you have any kind of questions around that, please feel free to DM me in the chat. If you do want to participate and you want to send in a question or a comment that you've got for the speaker, please do so. The group chat is open. I would love to encourage y'all to, step in there. Let us know how you're feeling about what we're talking about. Maybe you have a different lived experience. We would love to hear from you in the chat. And please feel free to connect with your fellow attendees as well, if that's what you would like. Now, like I had mentioned earlier, today's session is being recorded. We are live streaming it to our YouTube channel. I'll share that link with y'all in just a little bit. But we are also going to be posting this video on our website once the recording is over. So what that means for you, since it is recorded, you don't have to take notes. You get to kick back and enjoy all of the conversations that we're about to have in the next hour. If Mathilde joins us today and says something just completely mind-blowing, you cannot wait to tell a friend or a relative or a coworker, you do not need to wait. So what's going to happen is in about 1 to 2 business days, we're going to email everybody that registered, and you'll get a link to where you can rewatch this recording when we post it on our site. But if you don't want to wait, you don't have to. You can always head over to our YouTube channel where we're live streaming. The recording is usually posted within about 5 to 15 minutes of the end of the session. And you can always check out we have a whole segment of our archives of our library of recorded chats in that website, posted to our YouTube channel. But you can also search our full archive, all completely free. All of our past chats, everything we've had since day one is on there. So if you do want to share from our YouTube channel, awesome, completely support it. Just know that there is an even bigger wealth of resources on our website. Now, like I said, we do have a YouTube channel. I'll share the link for that in just a little bit. It's I think it's at PTF Chat and Learns. But we are also at Power to Fly on various social media platforms. We are on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and obviously YouTube. Now, if you want to follow us on those platforms, I highly encourage it. We share a lot of amazing things, free resources, highlight job postings. We have blog posts. We've got all kinds of great information as well as advice and help for you, no matter what stage of your career you are currently in. So please feel free to follow us there. If you would like, you are welcome to take photo or video as we go. Share it out with your social media network. Let people know that you are learning with Power to Fly today. If you do so, please feel free to tag us. We also use the hashtag Power to Fly. We would love to retweet, repost, reshare anything that you guys share out to your groups. Anything we can do to get these resources in the hands of more people is something that we are committed to doing. So thank you so much for helping us in that effort. Now, I'm very excited to introduce you to our speaker today. Mathilde Froget is a women empowerment mentor, a certified life coach, and a holistic health practitioner. Now, Mathilde is free-spirited, highly sensitive, and she spent years exploring her body, mind, and soul in search for deeper authenticity and alignment. Now, over the past 10 years, Mathilde has worked with conscious change makers, collectives, and entrepreneurs in diverse cultural and societal environments, while traveling the world to learn from the ancient medicines of I've pronounced this 8 times, y'all, practicing, and I'm going to mess it up now. Ayurveda, yoga, and meditation. Now, today, Mathilde's work supports women leaders to cultivate a deeper, fully expressed, and authentic relationship with themselves. Mathilde, I'm so happy to have you join us today. Is there anything else you would like to add to this bio before we move on into questions?
Well, thank you so much for receiving me. I am very happy to be here with you all. I think the bio is quite, quite full already. And yeah, I'm just really happy to connect with you all, answer the questions. And we're really here to connect and interact. And hopefully I'll bring some insights and helpful support to all of you. But thank you again for the opportunity. I really appreciate what you're doing here at Power to Fly. I think it's a very important work to just educate as much as possible and give equal opportunities to everyone. So I really appreciate this moment. Yeah.
Thank you. We appreciate you. We appreciate you gracing us today. Now I'm going to share this information again later, but in case you do want to contact Mathilde, there's some information on the slide in front of you. If you are interested in doing that, I suggest to take a screenshot real quick. That'll be the quickest way to get the information down, but I'll leave this slide up for a couple seconds here just so people have a chance to do that if you would like to. We'll also be showing this information at the end of the event as well. So in case you aren't able to grab a screenshot now, don't sweat, you will be able to see it later. Plus, obviously, this will be in part of the recording. Now, I want to highlight a couple things before we dive into questions. So what you're looking at are some of the main takeaways you can expect to get from today's session. Now, we identify these from conversations with Mathilde, as well as by looking at the questions you all submitted, but you took the time out of your day to be here with us live. And so we want to make sure that you know you have the power to drive today's conversation. If you want to dive in deeper or expand on something that Mathilde has talked about, please feel free. Let us know in the chat. I want to make sure that we get y'all the information you came for. If you submitted a question and you're not sure if we'll get to it or not, submit it in the chat. If you submitted your question, we're covering it, but you think we should have some more context or details, excellent. Love to see it. Please feel free to submit it in the chat. If you do have a question, comment, anything at all that you would like to be raised, but you want to be kept anonymous, doesn't matter the reason, I'm happy to do that for you. Just make sure you DM it to me as opposed to sending to everyone. You'll find my name, Meg Alexander, on the drop-down list of people you can send to. So we're going to discuss some ways that you can cultivate self-awareness around your body, mind, soul, health, and vitality. We're going to discuss some ways that you can cultivate a greater sense of devotion to your own alignment, something that I know I definitely do not prioritize enough in my life. And we're going to discuss some ways that you can navigate personal challenges without compromising your boundaries, which I'm very excited for because it's certainly a lesson I could use today. And hopefully it will be useful for most of you as well. So, Mathilde, we're going to dive on into questions here. Let me stop sharing my screen.
I love it. I see people's faces. It's
right. I
yeah.
love it.
We're interacting now.
Oh, yes. And thank you to so many people for coming, turning your cameras on. I really appreciate it. I know it can feel like you're kind of speaking into the void sometimes. So thank you all. We very much appreciate that. All right. So a lot of the questions, we got some great questions for today's event. But let's talk first off about the meaning of holistic health and why you feel it's important for women professionals.
Yeah. Well, thank you for this introduction. And right, I saw this question. I was like, this is really on point. Like, we're going to dive right into what it is. So holistic health somehow to me seems a little redundant. It's these terms that we often use almost like labels, and kind of they lose a little bit of their meaning, of their core charge, right? And I would say, that health is a very interesting word as well to think about, because what is it to be healthy? When do we feel that we're healthy? And I feel like for most of us, we're healthy when we're not sick. Right? Well, I think part of our society feels like, as long as I'm not sick, I don't have any disease, I'm healthy. While the meaning of health truly is, and that might surprise you, is feeling whole. Feeling whole. And it's very interesting when you look at the etymology. It's also about finding purpose, finding fulfillment. So we're really touching here on something that has to do with a deeper sense of alignment and fulfillment, and aliveness, vitality. This is why I also talked about vitality in this chat. And I don't know what you think, but it gives another perspective, and already it kind of awakens something in us to think of health in such a way. My goal is not to not be sick. My goal is to feel alive, and as much alive as I can, right? And holistic means wholeness as well, and whole, and being whole. And so I guess what we mean by holistic wellness, a holistic health, such as in Ayurveda and all other ancient medicines, is looking at the human being as an ecosystem. And I think this is what we've lost a little bit along the way, that we're finding back again. I think there's so many schools today that talk about, the human being as an ecosystem, but it's truly seeing the human being as made of different parts, different facets, whether it be our physical body, but also emotional body, our mental body, our spiritual body, and just finding a deeper understanding and connection to all of that, and having this deeper sense of awareness that we are holistic beings, right? And yes, this is why holistic health is so powerful. It's a paradigm shift, I would say, even though it's been existing for like thousands of years. I think we lost connection to that along the way, to that philosophy, to that way of being. And yeah, I'm passionate about this because holistic health to me has really changed the way I live my life, and I am embodied in myself, and why is it important for, women professionals? I work with women, but honestly, it's important to any single individual on the planet, like to anyone. I find it very interesting to see how holistic health, what it entails, right? Like in the workplace, in our work life, because like making those connections are where we practice, in the core of our lives. And I just really think that also the workplace at the moment, and society in general, let's just say, has lost a little bit this definition of health and wellness as being alive and having a deep respect for life. So this is my message today, and I hope more and more, people and companies and leaders will, feel that. Like, it's definitely about feeling, right? It's more of an activation, a connection to self. So yeah, that's what I can say. I mean, I could talk about it forever, but I guess
and listening to you speak, like, you're absolutely right. I can only speak from a very Western American centric perspective, but absolutely, we don't have that approach to health in a way that encompasses not just your physical, but also like your mental, your emotional, what else is going on with you. So I think you're right. It's very, very important, especially depending on the culture. Especially in American culture, women do not complain about what, if they're not feeling well or something. Like, women are far more likely to put off dealing with something for themselves, especially when it comes to health, than men are. And so I think it's really, really important to focus on this, because it gives you not only that feeling of it, it's important to keep yourself healthy, because I feel like a lot of times we only value that when we are actually sick, but keeping in mind that it's not just not sick you're going for. So I think that's really, really interesting to talk about and expand on.
Yeah, well, thank you for that reflection. And of course, also, I think you're totally right to mention that women have so many layers of conditionings, right? That we've been working on, like, liberating in each and every one of us and collectively. But for sure, I think allowing ourselves to be our full expression is also part of health, of feeling alive. Is, it's a path of liberation, the conditioning, all of it. So yes, it's very
completely agree.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about when we're talking about setting boundaries between, let's say, like our work and our personal lives. This person had written in saying, I find myself consumed by work during off hours, even if I'm not actually checking emails. Somehow work is always in the back of my head. What do you recommend to separate work from your personal life? I hit this wall hard when I started working remote, like 3 or 4 years ago. And so like, I want to know what you would suggest for this person who, maybe this has been long ongoing, and maybe it's something that was COVID specific. That's when it kicked off for them.
Right.
But how do you do this for yourself?
It's a very powerful question. I just want to take, just a second to acknowledge that person's question, because, it was quite charged, and we can all hear that there's like probably, discomfort and pain behind that. Like they used the word consumed. So there's really like, it comes from a place of just really acknowledging, okay, something is wrong and something is not working for me, and I suffer from that. And I just want to acknowledge that, because also honestly, in the work that I do, it's like the first step is like really truly coming with compassion and being like, okay, acknowledging I have the honesty and the authenticity to acknowledge what's going on for me. And that's such an important step. We can live in such a state of denial and disconnection from what's happening for us in our mental health, physical, emotional health, that just observing that this is happening is extremely important. And I really wanted to emphasize, so sending like also massive, compassion and acknowledgement to that person. So truly, the first step is here, awareness. How do I feel? Where is it not working? How does it show in my physical body, in my emotional body? What is truly my experience? What is my experience? And being honest about that. I think honesty, we're so often afraid to be honest and to look at what is not working for us, right? Though it is the first step. This is, again, acknowledgement. And I'm tempted to not give any practical tools, because I just want to also say that my work is really about inner work and relational work. And I feel like we have plenty of resources of the good practices, the tools, the good things that we can implement and put into place, and be in the doing and the doing and the doing. For that person's case, there's obviously an overwhelm. There is probably a nervous system that is dysregulated. And from that place only, it's impossible sometimes to make the tiniest little change, right? So my work with that person, or really what I can say now, would be to maybe observe what you feel, come back to the body, acknowledge that. Get support, that's for sure, because most of the time there's so many blind spots in the way we do things and how we see ourselves, and get support and have a support system. That's very important. So being open, the conversation, express yourself, talk about it, get support, and all of that. And yeah, I would say get some support, and maybe work with someone that can allow you to release the emotional charge as well that is in your nervous system, in your body. And it is, I live that as well. I do this work and I practice that every day, and I live that as well. There's no way that we can completely protect ourselves from any mental stress, overwhelm. It's just part of life as well. Stress is very much part of life. So wanting to reject it is also something that's just not working. We know it's just not changing anything to our experiences. So I just want to acknowledge that we all live that. So it's about being, acknowledging, getting support, and really dive in the body. And I would say also in the relational patterns that you hold. That would be my first maybe, question for that person is, how can we dive into how you relate to your work? Because there can be many external reasons and causes that we can also act on, like that has to do with the company's culture, with like her job or their job. Are they clear on what their responsibilities are, what their job is? Like, do they have like clear sense of boundaries? Can they express their needs? We can work on all of that. But this is what is outside of her in a way, of that person. And what inside of them, it would be like more, what is your relational pattern with your work, right? Where is their attachment? Where is their toxicity? Like we would really go into the relational pattern. How do you relate with all of that?
Ooh, I like that. It makes me think of, when I started working like a long hours, and it's really, gets exciting, right? Especially if you're tied to the mission of your company. But it is absolutely something that you have to be able to step away from. And part of it is self-control, but part of it, you're right, like you said, is really examining, why do you feel like you need to keep returning to this? Is it work that's not done yet? Is it work that you're not confident in? Or is it like needing to feel like you are constantly producing, constantly doing something productive, which, oh gosh, that comes for the best of us. But
Oh,
yeah,
absolutely. The notion of productivity is most of the time extremely toxic, and we've internalized toxic patterns of productivity. In my world, we call that like the masculine product, like it's come from the masculine energy. And how
okay.
can we just be in ownership of the ways that we feel we're productive? What is productivity for us? What is it to have impact? Maybe what does success look like, while moving with my vital energy, my vital force, without draining myself? So there's like, it's a multifaceted question, but it's really about reassessing some of our relational patterns. Exactly why do I feel obliged to, or why do I need like to open my emails at 10 p.m. at night when I'm with my partner? Why do I need to disconnect? What maybe wound or lack inside of me makes me feel like I'm not enough, I'm not doing enough? In most of my work with women, we dive into those core wounds and it's not scary, because this is a very natural process of just acknowledging in ourselves, okay, I think I'm in lack, and this has an impact on how I relate in my life, with my family, with my partners, with my colleagues, with my work, with my body, my health, right? So yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about navigating some of these personal challenges, right? We had talked earlier about all of the different factors that play into holistic wellness. What do you consider some of the best practices to navigate personal challenges without neglecting our health? I know for me, if I'm stressed, the first thing to go is diet, because I'm not making myself healthy food. I'm just grabbing whatever is easy. It is usually complete trash. So
Right.
if that is something we want to try and avoid, or if, obviously everybody has their own, ways they might neglect or kind of ignore their health. What do you recommend as a way to not do these things, as a way to handle these personal challenges better, so that we're not having to make up from the fact that we've been neglecting our health?
Yeah. I want to give a non-conformist answer, because this is truly what I feel in my work and in my experience, is that when we are going through personal challenges, we're going to neglect our health. This is just going to happen. So just being honest with that and authentic, like, okay, my physical body, my emotional body, my mental, spiritual body is going to take a toll, like this is going to happen, because I'm moving through something that, is going to be challenging. And sometimes just the single idea of dropping the need to be perfect, the need to control everything, the need to be, I guess perfect, is soothing in itself, and allows more energy and vital force and to flow, and more possibility for action. In times of personal challenges, we might judge ourselves very harshly, and that's something that I also really work on, like the self-bully, really internalized bully, and the perfectionism and judgments. I mean, I go through that, and this is my path, so I know about this. So just dropping that can be liberating, in a way. And then just also awareness, that having this simple awareness that, oh, I am neglecting my health right now. And again, this is why I teach awareness a lot, is because this is the single most effective practice and embodiment kind of ability to develop, right? When we're able to see what is happening to our bodies, what's happening to our emotions, what's happening to our minds, then we're able to just be with it, and maybe take a step back and say, okay, I need help right now. So I encourage people to get support and get help, because most of the time, especially when we're moving through personal challenges, we cannot do everything alone. Like, I think this is one of the biggest misconception of our society, that we are like individual people that can really live their life and create the empire and the bubble. No, we're an ecosystem as well. And so, yeah, so it's not like, again, it's not a practice. Of course, there are many practices to take care of the physical health and making sure you have enough sleep, you get enough sleep. But truly, I don't know, when I went through personal challenges, I needed that person outside of me to guide me, to give me a container, to, to support me. Even though I have a lot of knowledge about these things and I've practiced them a lot, support is needed. And I really want to emphasize that. Yeah, education is key, of course, like knowing that, yeah, we could do a breathing exercise when we feel a little bit of anxiety coming up. This is incredibly powerful, knowing that we can just focus on our feet when we feel a bit overwhelmed and put our consciousness into our feet. These practices are amazing. So there can be so many, and I can give a few more specific examples if some people have more specific questions. But I wanted to give another view of that, because acceptance of imperfection and that our bodies are also living entities that are going to be resilient and move through things is also very important. In the holistic health and wellness care system, there are a lot of perfectionism as well, and I went through that, wanting to control my body and my health more than really being devoted to my aliveness. And that's that's a whole change of paradigm, right?
Oh yeah. Well, and it makes a ton of sense, right? That control and that focus feels good because I'm putting effort into this. I am very serious about how much I want this. But it's very, very difficult to see that you hold something too tight, there's no room for adjustment. There's no wiggle room for things to not go exactly according to plan. I was having this exact same conversation with one of my best friends this morning, who thankfully was a social worker. And so she's very adept at saying, no, you're being dumb. That's not the way you need to think about this. Nobody else thinks about it. It's okay. Like, you can just chill. Right. And I had that same reaction this morning. I called her and she was like, how are you doing? And I was like, yeah, I'm a little bit depressed because bipolar disorder. This is something that's going to happen throughout the rest of my life. And I was trying to tell her, like, I feel frustrated. I don't know where it's coming from. And it's just really annoying. And I don't know how to explain it. And she goes, who do you have to explain it to?
That's a very good question.
Yeah. Who are you making excuse? Like, who needs to have that rationale to make it okay for you to be depressed today? And I was like, first off, I don't need you to take that tone with me this early in the morning. But like, it's one of those things where you kind of get a reflection back and you realize, like, oh yeah, I don't need to waste time on that. But it's hard. And like for me as well, like that having that external source is huge. So
it's mirroring. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. It's a very clear example of, that's just this mirroring of this simple question that makes us kind of shift and be like, oh, okay, like our blind spots again, and truly supports. And it's very complementary to those practices that we can do to release stress, complete the stress cycle. But thank you for that.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay, so we have another question regarding productivity. So I want to touch on this one. This person wants to know, what is a sustainable way to make progress as an entrepreneur that does not require working constantly? This person says they're autistic and have ADHD, so they have to rest a lot, and it's hard to grow a business while doing that. So how would you answer this person?
First of all, again, acknowledgement of that question and that person's, experiencing. So I'm an entrepreneur as well. And, I'm also neurodivergent. So I completely understand, some specific challenges that these people can have, especially in the world of entrepreneurship, online business. Like, this is a jungle out there, and we're being conditioned to do business in the same way, to think in the same way. We have, comparison paralysis, all of these that happen, that is really huge when you start your entrepreneurial journey. That really ask for a lot of liberation and self-awareness and connection to your own value and worth. So there will be obviously a lot to do, work to do about your own sense of worth, right? I think in entrepreneurs, like, it's the core question, like, where's my sense of worth being threatened? Why am I not able to really connect to my talent, to my own power, to my own, frequency, in a way, what I have to bring in this world and contribute? And I would say also getting support from, again, from people that share your experience, because being neurodivergent, again, you have specific, challenges in the way, you might be hyperstimulated, your nervous system works, in the way you feel overwhelmed more than other people, more easily. And so being heard in your experience, being acknowledged in your experience, and having, someone in front of you that is able to hold you as well as you hold yourself, is, for me, it has been key as an entrepreneur. I do this work with other women, but I am completely, entirely supported all the time. And because we also, let's just say that we need to have this conversation about this world that we live in, this business, online business world. We live in the perfect time to liberate ourselves. And this is also the work that I'm doing as an entrepreneur, to liberate ourselves from these rules and this conditioning that we're in, that we need to go, thrive. Consistency is a very subjective topic, and if we talk about women, how am I devoted to my vital force and my vital energy? Or am I devoted to a sense of achievement, goal setting? Do I want to be a good person? Do I want to be seen as someone who is successful? Or do I really feel successful in my life? And what does that look like? Do I feel abundant? Like, all of these questions really about liberating ourselves from all the norms and all the like the shoulds, right? Like the to-dos. And this is being in that game. Honestly, I am redefining all of that constantly. And I see myself, fall back into what online business should look like. But honestly, we are extracting our life force by complying to the rules of this world that are just, completely in the masculine. How much can I get? How much can I give? What is my goal? Like, our sense of worth is defined by that. So, I mean, I'm quite, I've quite an opinion about this, but I'm happy to share that message. But for that person, I would definitely tell them to get support. And if I will answer privately on the website, because I know a coach that actually talks about ADHD and neurospicy people, and they help them build their business and find strategies and find wellness. She talks about her journey, her constant inconsistency, and she talks about her health, her nervous system. So I would say your vitality, your health, your aliveness is really your focus and your priority. Being neurodivergent, having ADHD, having high sensitivity can be a superpower. It means that you need to double on your awareness, on your body is constantly calling you back, right? So it can also be a shift and say, okay, you're meant to do business in a different way, and be empowered in that. And people are going to hear you and going to hear your message through that.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
You had touched on something earlier in the response, where you had talked about like thinking of your life force and your vitality as a support for your business. And I think you hit on something really, really cool there, because if you think about it as an ingredient, right, as something that is vital to the success of your business, is that you are able to be invested, that you have the energy to do this, then you need to think of it as something that should also be supported, right? Especially with neurodivergencies. I also have ADHD. It is really difficult sometimes to stay on track, or to, kind of like rein in the enthusiasm or the excitement that I get over a new project, and remember, like, okay, well, these 3 still have to be completed. And knowing that, like, I can better plan out my weeks and say, like, okay, I've got a really busy week this week, and so now I know I'm not going to be able to put enough and as much effort into this certain other area. So I think the idea of treating it less like something that's bad that you have to make up for because of your neurodivergency, instead maybe see it as something that just needs to be resupplied in a different way. It needs to be refreshed in a different way from how others might be able to do it. For some people that once a week softball team is all it takes and they are good, but for others it can take a lot to kind of recharge you and get you back up to the sense where, kind of to that place where you are functioning well as an entrepreneur, like well for yourself.
Oh, absolutely. 100%. And yeah, absolutely. And, speaking of health as well, I'm very highly sensitive, and it's kind of a newish label. And when I was younger, I had no idea that I was, and I was feeling like something was deeply wrong with me. Honestly, this was the feeling. I was like, why am I such a killjoy in parties? Why am I sick all the time? Why do I have this overwhelm? Why do I get so sensitive about noise and lights? Why? And so I love what you said there, of like just seeing this as, this is understanding of how you function. This is awareness, and labels are really effective for that. It's just, okay, oh, I see that nothing is wrong with me, right? And it's just a part of who I am. It doesn't define me. It's not my identity, but it is very much sort of a little superpower sometimes that can help me come back to my body and dive deeper into self-acceptance, right? I think people that, have these facets really have to liberate and free themselves from a lot of norms and what society expects from them, or the people in comparison, all of that, and really coming to self-acceptance, like, okay, I'm going to make the life choices, health choices, that really serve me, because I accept myself, and because this is just, because I want the best for myself, and I want to be sustaining my life force, because this is health. Coming back to the, also the topic, like sustaining our life force, and especially as an entrepreneur, is going to be the foundation of our work, and our feeling of fulfillment and success, and how long we can be in the game, and we can, contribute from a place of meaning as well, right? Like there's so much burnout in entrepreneurship, and that's real. So yeah, putting a vitality at the center and moving from that place is super, really important. Yeah, to develop, to cultivate that in us.
Yeah, of course. We're getting messages in the chat about other people relating to being a highly sensitive person. I think this is a great conversation to be having, because you're right. It's very easy, not very easy. There have been a lot of changes recently where people want to see these things as superpowers, and I completely agree. But think about it in the way that, like, superpower does not necessarily mean that you love this trait about yourself all of the time, right? Like the Hulk does not want to Bruce Banner does not want to turn into the Hulk, and he can't control when he does it. So I tend to use it a little bit, obviously, as a metaphor for, like, when I'm, kind of going through a swing or something. Like, remember, there are times where this is really good and it does benefit me, but it's okay if I'm not loving this right now. You don't have to, you don't have to adore your neurodivergence to be, like, able to utilize it to your advantage, right?
That is a very, very, very fair and good point. Absolutely. Yeah. Acceptance of all that it is, right?
Yeah. Oh, of course.
Yeah.
So let's talk about, you talked about, with entrepreneurship, like your passion for the project, your devotion is huge, right? And obviously it can lead to burnout. How can we create a sense of devotion to something if we don't feel it? How does that work hand in hand with trying to cultivate our own alignment?
That's a beautiful question. So I think that, I remember the question said achieve devotion. And it's a very interesting way to put it, because there is nothing to achieve, first off. Again, liberating ourselves from wanting to achieve anything, to get anywhere. Because really devotion, I would say it has more to do with, I'm using this term, but in awakening something in us, right? This is why I talk about vitality, and this is why I wanted to redefine health, because if understanding health as being abundant, fulfilled, then we want to have that in our life, right? Like, I think we all are thriving to live a life full of purpose, aliveness, meaning, contribution, connection, love. I think this is pretty universal, right? So just seeing, do I want that for myself? And if I don't, why is that? Why do I not value my life enough to have that sense of devotion for my own life? I care about that subject because we have been conditioned in, the way we have grown in education, society, through the way we've raised, to be disconnected from our sense of self, from our bodies. And this is why I teach embodiments as well, connecting back to ourselves, to what is happening in your body, to how you feel in your different centers, connecting back to being in yourself will ultimately sort of awaken a sense of devotion. You want the best for yourself. So it's like, and with women, I work through all their layers of resistance that might come up in that, but devotion is truly a quality of feeling that you want to live a good life. Honestly, that's just it. And that's it. I would say this is what in alignment, I guess, the second part of the question was around alignment, and it's really about cultivating that awareness on your different bodies and your holistic, everything that you are, to really kind of have conversations with all of these parts and embody all of that and just feel into the life choices that you make, the relationships that you have, and trusting yourself. So alignment is, I guess, it's a path, right? It might be difficult to understand, but it's very much an experience of being embodied and in trust in yourself. And it's a sense of responsibility. I wanted to touch on that as a little bit as well around health, because especially in the workplace, in our work life. So when we're entrepreneurs, we work with ourselves. So we definitely have a sense of responsibility, and probably too harsh of a sense of responsibility, right? But when we're in the workplace and we work for other people or with other people, being devoted to your own health is also your responsibility. Yeah. Because there's a tendency, and I just really wanted to touch on that, to really disempower ourselves and their demands, how our environments should be, how people should treat us. And ultimately that's okay. Yeah, it's absolutely fair to have these needs and to advocate, right, for that. But I see that a lot of people and women that I work with feel this sense of disempowerment. And also, this is why I talk about devotion to yourself, because awakening that in you will make you want to change your situation and have the important conversations that you want to be having, and have the courage to do so. Will make you want to get support when you need to, and this is really, it comes from within. Yeah. And I think along the way, we lost a little bit that contact with our own, with that sense of devotion and responsibility in the devotional way, right? Not in a mental charge way.
Okay. All right. Linda had chimed in the chat with a very good question. They had said, you alluded to masculine energy in the workforce and its effect on our vitality and enlightenment. Could you go a little bit deeper on this?
Right. It's a whole teaching. The masculine, so we talk about masculine, feminine energies. There are a lot of, kind of polemic around the words, which I understand, because it's confused with gender and identity. It's probably, we could have other terms, but these are energies that have nothing to do with your gender, your identity. Every single person on this planet has that polarity, right? Like different forces in us that condition how we, how we are and how we experience life. And the masculine, I would say, is everything that is outside of the natural intelligence and of the body and the life force. So it's really about achieving, for example, goal setting, moving towards direction. We talk, the masculine is this force of movement that keeps us going, right? So it's very much needed, but you can, I guess, probably already see that we are in an overwhelm of masculine in our society, in the way we work with this idea of productivity. We have pushed the masculine extremely far, and the masculine is extractive, right? And we can see in the way we, take care of nature and the way we handle resources. We extract without, really coming back into the feminine, which is more about regeneration, life force, following cycles, allowing death to allow birth. It has to do with chaos and rebirthing. So these are, let's say, almost archetypes that you can work with in your life, whether it be with your health, with the way you think, with the way you relate, and see how those polarities are balanced in you. And if there's a bit too much of masculine, a bit too much of control, of being driven by your mind, by goal setting, then you might feel like your life force is being extracted, right? And maybe you want to be cultivating a little bit more feminine, right? Which is coming back into a sense of being with what is, acceptance, openness, expressivity, right? This is why I teach embodiment again, and I do a lot of embodiment, because the body and embodiment and movement and expression is the feminine, and it is medicine to come back to who we are and a balanced expression of ourselves. So it's a whole conversation. I hope that made sense. Yeah,
I think that's
what I would have to
excellent.
say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about if we want to go on this journey for ourselves. Do you think that it's possible for individuals to work on their holistic health on their own, or do you think it's necessary to have a mentor or have some sort of external, involvement in this process?
Definitely, you can. Instead of saying work on your online holistic health, I would probably suggest getting curious about what holistic health is. And, I started my journey in holistic health and really wanting to change my relationship to myself because I had digestive problems. Like, it's as simple as that. Sometimes it starts from, I have a problem. I don't want to stay in that situation. It's like growth mindset. I want to find solutions to feel well. Again, devotion to feeling absolutely well and alive, because this is my birthright and this is what I want in my life. So from that place, of course, you can educate yourself, read books. There's so many amazing content online. This conversation is one of them. It's free, it's open to anyone. This is why it's so important. And then getting a sense of, it gives you ideas and threads to follow. And you might feel in you sometimes like, oh God, yeah, this is touching me, I think. And, you get curious. And then obviously, the only thing that happens sometimes is that we act from the mind and wanting to, implement things. And what I would suggest is, in order to be balanced in our health and just really feel alive, I suggest, you get also support, and whether it be a teacher, a coach, a practitioner, whoever this is, because you're going to need to liberate a lot of what's happening inside, right? Health is very impacted by the psycho-emotional state, is impacted by our mental patterns, our traumas, right? Our nervous system. So being guided and contained and having a sense of being supported in that is very important. But it's a journey. It goes step by step. And for me, it starts with the sense of devotion. I want to feel alive. I'm done with not feeling alive. And it starts there. Yeah. Oh, we can't hear you, Meg. I'm sorry. Yeah.
See, I do this. I how many times a week do I host chats? And I always do this at least once. So we have about 10 minutes left in the session. This time always goes way too fast. So if you have a question, please make sure you send it in. We got one from Casey. Casey says, like many, I struggle with keeping my work confined to work hours because I never feel like I'm doing enough. Do you have any tips for feeling more satisfied with your level of productivity at work within an 8-hour day? So we touched on this a little bit before, but let's revisit this idea of trying to figure out like where we should go if this is what the way we're feeling. If you know that you're not feeling satisfied, you feel like you have to keep working to like make it up and be productive enough. What are some ways that we can kind of reframe or investigate within ourselves to try and figure out ways that we can not do this, like ways you can be more satisfied with the productivity you are able to have within that work time?
Yeah. There are many kind of, threads that we can pull for that question. I would say one of the more practical and logical ways of going with it is, am I clear on what I'm doing? Because most of the time in our work, if you're an employee or if you work with like someone or for someone, sometimes we might not be clear on what our work is, what our mission, what really is my contribution here. Like, am I clear on what my work entails, what my job entails? And if it's not clear, having a conversation with anyone that can help you within your company to have a sense of clarity, which is your manager, your whatever, whoever this is, and just being responsible for that, being like, okay, I feel like I'm confused. I'm overextending myself. I'm overworking because I'm going all directions. I want to get a sense of direction and I want to feel contained. So I think feeling contained, especially for neurospicy people, can be very important, making sure that you're clear about where you're going, right? So it has to come from you and being like, okay, I need to clarify this, having important conversation, having the courage and honesty to have these sometimes challenging conversation, be like, okay, I'm unclear. Having priorities for your work, like this is exactly what I've been hired for. This is my priority, like this is kind of the external, like what is my work? And then obviously, as you were mentioning, investigate within ourselves how I relate to work, the sense of perfectionism, truly, like this can be like a very interesting thread to investigate. My sense of worth, again, how do I relate to that? Again, I mean, this is also the work that I do, so that I'm much more willing to go into that. And then there are like practices that can support that. And one thing I want to add is also working on boundaries, right? And this is something I work a lot on with women, especially highly sensitive women, or any person. Actually, I think we need to have like serious conversations about what it is to have a boundary, to hold a boundary. And it has to do, we can decide to have boundaries, but it's not as simple as that. It's not a mental decision. It can be a mindset shift. Okay, I'm going to set clear boundaries, but how can I, do that from a space of feeling devoted to my worth as well, and being treated with love and fairly. And it really comes down to the relationship with ourselves. If we're clear and empowered and feel worthy inside, then we're most likely to be able to ask for respect. And just, this is the clearest boundary, and you're going to be much clearer about what a boundary is. But boundary setting is an entire subject, and it's a very interesting one. And at work, it is it's extremely, extremely important to set like healthy boundaries with your time, with your mental health, with the amount of work that you can take in, with all of that. So that would be a good thread to pull as well.
I like that a lot. All right, we have another question from the chat. Ovi wants to know, how could a coach help me on my own journey to holistic health? Do you have any success stories? Maybe yours, Mathilde, when you first started going on this, did you have a coach?
Absolutely. I mean, I had a teacher. Actually, I met an Ayurvedic practitioner, and just seeing her inspired me, wanting to be her at first. I was really young. I was like, I want to be that person, but she inspired me, and she shifted my entire perspective. And I'm all for working with other people because there's so much energy that goes through that. And so I'm definitely a success story in that, because, I experienced being burnt out at 25. So in a way, I was lucky because it happened early on, and it didn't happen. I was not, stuck in bed for 6 months. So it was not like the extreme burnout that we see happen very often nowadays. And if you're going through that, I feel you. But I experienced a deep sense of exhaustion at 25, and a loss of joy, and a loss of wanting, I didn't know what I wanted. I couldn't even choose a meal at the restaurant. I was completely living outside of my own self, and I couldn't even hold a conversation with someone. I had extreme screen, I don't know what you call that in English, but I think it's like internet screen fatigue.
Yeah.
I was outside of myself. I was living outside of myself. And so so I'm a success story in that. And I'm also very dedicated and devoted to my own, freedom. And this is what I share. And this is my specific kind of also frequency that I share, to invite people that are in the situation to be devoted to their sense of aliveness, because ultimately this is how you're going to get to find the person who's going to help you, support you, teach you. You're going to find even one conversation sometimes can change your life. Take a deep, wanting to take a deep breath and take a break. And yes, so the success story, it's a bit of a fancy term, but it's a path, and it starts with, again, wanting to feel alive. And there are many, many, many people that are here to support you and help you. And I'm very happy with the work that I do with the women that I guide. And because what happens in the end is this feeling of sovereignty, right? When you want to feel alive in yourself, in your body, in your health, in your mental health, in your emotion, when you move through that, and when you're devoted to that, then you feel empowered, right? And you feel sovereign. Mm-hmm. And you contribute from a better place, right? In society, in your relationship, at your work. So, yeah.
Love it. Okay. I'm going to share my screen here so that way y'all can get another chance to take a peek at Mathilde's contact info. So that way, if you do decide that you would like to reach out or continue these conversations with her, y'all have an ability to do that. One thing that I want to ask before we go, what is something that we have not touched on yet, but you cannot let us leave without hearing?
I think we touched on a lot of things. I would say maybe, I wrote a post on LinkedIn today about it. So if you're interested, you can also check out this post. But my work is, I do a lot of one-on-one work. I do a lot of women's circle, like also incubators and experiences with the group, because ultimately feeling alive and embodied and fully expressed as a person is also being, you do the work with other people. But today on LinkedIn, I wrote a post about, it's a conversation that we need to have at the workplace with the leaders, with everyone at the workplace. But it's also a conversation we need to have with ourselves. I think health in the workplace is a subject in itself, right? And so as much as you want to be healthy and alive in yourself, I engage and I invite organizations and companies to really redefine what wellness and health looks like in their company. Is it deep respect for life and wanting aliveness and regeneration in your systems, or is it just wanting extraction, productivity, and you're going to come up like having the same problems with your people and your results? So I wanted to touch on that because it's a specific conversation. And I'd be happy to continue to connect with you all if you feel inspired. I have different offerings that are starting in September because in Europe, we have a 2-month holiday break.
Lucky.
Well, I've been working as an entrepreneur, but like we start back in September. And I have a beautiful immersion on the body and how to connect and shift your relationship with your body, which is really on point with this conversation. And it's a woman's circle, it's a woman immersion. It's not a course, it's an immersion, it's an experiencing. And if you feel the call, I'd be happy to connect with you. And anyway, we can chat if you feel like you have something to dive deeper into with me.
Thank you, Mathilde. I just wanted to say thank you so much for joining us today. This has been a wonderful, kind of pick me up for the day. We were talking earlier about how much I enjoy these events, but it can be kind of draining sometimes. And this is absolutely an event that has refilled and recharged me for the rest of my day. So Mathilde, I just want to say thank you so much for that. It has been really, really wonderful to spend this time with you.
Thank you so much for this conversation, for the level of listening that you have. And I really enjoyed that moment. And I wish you all a beautiful day, evening, wherever you are.
Thank you so much. Huge thank you to our audience as well, whether you are watching us on YouTube, on the live stream on our website, or live here from Zoom. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to spend with us. It is incredibly meaningful. We really, really value every single one of you and are so happy to see you again. If this was your first Power to Fly event, I hope you will be back soon. If this was your 500th and you're a frequent flyer with us, I cannot wait to see you again. Have a lovely, safe, happy, healthy rest of your Wednesday, and we will see you back here with more great programming later on.